Hey, it's Dave from Old Dad Studio. Today we're not in the studio, we're actually back up in the kitchen. Some days the kitchen, some days the studio, some days the front stoop. It is what it is. We always get the vlog wherever we can get it. Today is vlog 172 in my daily series for the year of 2025. Today we're going to talk about the top 5 password tips that I have for you on changing your passwords and being secure. Yesterday, the news story broke about this malware that has been out there collecting all of our passwords and all of our information and has dumped it to 30 different databases across the dark web, totaling somewhere around 16 billion credentials for all of us that have been exposed through the course of time that this malware has been gathering our data. Now, the data breach wasn't like one company got hacked and all of its data. No, it was this malware that is infected on all of our computers and is gathering data and sending it to these databases. So it's one of those really tricky ones and hard to get rid of. Now, if you watched yesterday's videos, I'm going to give you first 3 tips on what you should do. First, you should always run your antivirus program. Run it, see if it can get rid of anything that it can find, clean the house, and lock the doors before you change the locks, right? So do that first and get that done. Second, if your credentials offer 2-factor authentication and you don't have it turned on, turn it on. I know sometimes it can be a pain in the butt, but it offers that extra level of security for those accounts that have to then use that 2-factor authentication, either sometimes SMS or sometimes a program like Microsoft Authenticator or Google's Authenticator. You have that extra security when you have 2-factor authentication turned on. So turn that on for any account that you have that available. The third thing then is to change your password. And when you change your password, make it something that is unique and long. The longer the password, the harder it is to crack. And I'm trying to remember from my cybersecurity training that I recently took, but it's something like an 8-character password can be broken in a few hours. When you start getting 9, 10, 11, 12, those take weeks and months to crack by just somebody cycling through the numbers. So the longer you can make your password, the better. All right, now those 3 steps were the same kind of steps I shared in yesterday's video, but today we're going to talk about the top 5 tips for when you are changing your password, what you should be doing, and how you should manage that. All right, number 1, if you have it available to you or if you can afford one, use some kind of password management system, right? The longer our passwords get, even if we use phrases and things in the password to help us remember them, our brains were just not equipped to remember 100 or 200 random passwords that we need for all of the websites and all the tools and everything that we have when we're logging in. So use some kind of password manager. Now, if you have the ability to purchase one or to subscribe to some of these services like Bitwarden or 1Password or Dashlane, all of those are some examples of password management tools that you can have that will help you remember and manage those passwords. Some of these tools, even in the background, will monitor your accounts for you and let you know if your account was in a breach somewhere and report that back to you. So there's some added features to having some of these password management tools. If you can't afford that, there are a couple of free options out there. I think Bitwarden offers a free tier, so you could use their free tier. There's also a local version of a password management. It doesn't sync with anything, but at least it would be a local copy of it. It's called Key, K-E-E, Pass, P-A-S-S. So that's an option as well. If you have Excel, you could put it in an Excel file and then encrypt and password protect that Excel document itself and store that somewhere secure. We're getting a little less secure there because somebody could hack into your Excel file. If all those fails, good old paper and pencil, right? Just write your passwords down in a notebook somewhere, not posting notes on your computer. No, that's a big no-no. But if you wrote it down, had that document then locked somewhere in a drawer, someplace secure where you had those passwords and you have that information where it can be locked up and be secure. That's another option as well. So there are options out there if you can't afford to buy some of these password management tools that, could be 60, 80, 100 bucks a year just to subscribe to them. All right, we're on to tip number 2. Never, ever, 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 ever We can make a song out of this. Never, ever, 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 ever. Okay, all right, never mind. I'm going to stick to making videos rather than singing. Anyway, never reuse a password. Now, and I know we all do this, right? We get lazy or we think, oh, I'm just going to use this one because I know this one. I can remember this one. I'm just going to use it for this account too. When you do that, and one of those accounts is hacked, especially if your account name and your password combination are the same, as soon as one of those is hacked, they all are vulnerable across the board. Don't ever, ever, ever reuse a password. Always make them unique. Come up with some kind of funky phrase or term or something that you can use, which actually we're going to get into that one a little bit because that's going to be another suggestion. But don't ever reuse your passwords. Again, I know it's a pain in the butt, and I know it's so much easier just to come up with one and use that, but it is a huge vulnerability. It's like if you had the same key to your house, to your car, to your boat, to your trailer, to your camper, to your beach house, whatever. Okay, maybe yeah, we all have beach houses and cars. Anyway, my point is, if you had the same key to all of those things, and then you lost that key, whoever has that key could then get into everything, right? It's one password to rule them all kind of thing that would happen in that situation. And you don't want to be in that situation. Number 3 on my password tip list is one that I've already mentioned, and I mentioned in yesterday's video as well. Turn on two-factor authentication. If it is available to you in whatever account you are logging into, turn on two-factor authentication. It just adds that extra level of security. And if that two-factor authentication offers an encryption program to go along with it, like Microsoft or Google's Authenticator, or Authy is another program that's out there, use the program. Set it up that it can also text you, but there's even a little bit of a risk with that, because if somebody hacks your Apple ID, as an example, and they're able to log into your Apple account, they can port your information off of your phone onto another device. And once they have that, and they have your phone number on another device, then that two-factor authentication that has SMS can also be compromised. Now, that's an unlikely scenario, but it is something that could happen. So if you have the authentication program, once that's ported over to another device, there's an extra step that has to be done in order to reactivate that authentication program on that other device. So it does protect you in that scenario that somebody would steal your phone number and port everything to another device. All right, my number 4 tip for password management is you can check yourself. If you don't have a password management software that is checking for you, I guess even if you have that, you still could use this. But if you don't have that and you want to check yourself to see if any of your accounts have been compromised, you can use websites like haveibeenpwned.com. Put in your credential information. It will tell you if that account has been compromised. Then you can take action. And if you are checking this on a regular basis, then you'll know early on in the process that you have been breached, rather than not paying attention to it until something like yesterday's 16 billion credentials breach happens, or the announcement of that happens, and then you're scrambling to find out, am I included? What happened with that? If you're doing this on a routine basis, you'll know if you are breached or not. All right, we have come to tip number 5 for my password tips for today. And I've kind of alluded to this already in some of the other ones that I've talked about, but the longer your password is, the better. And of course, I think everybody's heard this by now, but I'm going to repeat it again. You want to have uppercase, lowercase, special characters, numbers in your passwords all the time. Now, some websites or some applications may restrict that or restrict you to certain ones, so you'll have to adhere what their recommendations are or what their restrictions are. But if you can have those combinations in any password and make it a long password, then those passwords are most secure. And to make it longer, you can come up with some kind of quirky phrase or something that only you know or that has meaning to you that doesn't have a meaning to anybody else. Or even just some random words that you stuck together that make up a phrase or a sentence, and you can mix and match things as you go. So one example would be something like, pink horses fly south. Now, there's a quirky phrase, right? Pink horses fly south. And then mixed within there, if you add some capital letters, maybe the first letter of every word, or the last letter, or the middle letter of every word is in there that's capitalized. If you want to add in some special characters, you could add them in between the words, or you could replace a word with a special character. For numbers versus letters, some of the things you can do that are really easy and will help you remember is if you replace zeros and O's with zeros, things like that will help you get numbers and letters in there. So you could really come up with a quirky, very secure phrase with some kind of wording like that. And then you can use that for the basis to change your passwords, so you have unique passwords for all kinds of different sites. So maybe some other site is blue donkeys fly north rather than pink horses flying south. I mean, anything in that process then that will help you remember and make that password familiar to you, but make it very secure for everyone else. And there you have it, my 5 top password tips for today. To recap, use a password manager if you can, or some kind of password management system. Never reuse a password. Always make every password for every site, every system, unique. Turn on two-factor authentication if you can. If it's available, it's much more secure than just having a username and a password to a site. Routinely check to make sure if you have been compromised or not, and if you have, take corrective actions immediately. And number 5, create strong, memorable pink horses that fly south, or password phrases, something like that. All right, and that's going to do it for today's edition of Old Dad Studio. I hope you found this helpful. If you are somebody who is new, or this is the first time that you've seen one of my vlogs, hey, my name's Dave. I am on a mission to do a daily vlog every single day in the year of 2025. We'll see if I can make it to the end of the year. If you like vlogs around technology and mainly around AI, because my main focus is on AI, I've kind of spent the last couple of days on the security issues because of the large breach. But if you like stories about AI or technology, then please subscribe. And if you liked today's video, if you thought it was good, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. That always helps the video and the channel as well. And I much appreciate it. If you have a comment, or maybe you have a password tip that I didn't cover that you think, hey, here's another great one, put it down in the comments. Let's share that out. The more information on secure passwords and security in general, the better. So let's share that if you've got it. And that's going to do it for today. But don't worry, I've a whole laundry list of things to talk about. So I will see you tomorrow.